Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be showing you my painting process of this master study. The original piece is by Alfred Thompson Bricker, I'm saying that name completely wrong and I am. And I'm going to be talking mainly about the brush I used. Now for this video I used one brush and the lasso tool. Now in the comments, before you start seeing me paint the process, don't jump through. Put in the comments, what brush do you think I used? Was it a hard brush, a soft brush, a square brush, a round brush? Was it a standard one or something I've downloaded or created? What do you think? Put it in the comments. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, a little bit about the study. So I wanted to create this because in my Discord server, link in the description below, I put a challenge out to use one brush and some other limitation. I've already got the video that I've just released of my critiques of those pieces where they did a fantastic job. And I wanted to do a similar study, basically to improve my own skill set. So I chose this piece and I wanted to challenge myself by using only one brush. And as you can probably see, that brush is a soft round brush. A brush I have never used to create an entire piece before. I have used it to create gradients. I use it a lot in my professional processes, but I use it very sparingly. I do use it to create soft gradients, soft lighting, atmospherics, stuff like that. Never used it for everything. So I also use the lasso tool just to get big shapes in. And as I progress through the painting, I start using it less and less. Now, to be completely honest with you, I could have used just the soft round and no lasso at all, and I would have been able to create something relatively similar, but it would have been harder. So that's what I'm going to talk about, is the brush I used and the benefits of it and the pitfalls. Now, one thing every professional artist, or at least a lot of them online, say you don't need fancy brushes. You can create anything with your standard set in Photoshop. Now that is absolutely true, and this painting process kind of demonstrates that. But what they don't talk about is how brushes can be very useful in professional settings. So I think there's some miscommunication when it comes to brushes, where you get people coming across as elitists by saying you should only use the hard brown brush. And then you see them using these crazy brushes to create these beautiful artworks. Now, are they hypocrites? No, of course not. The simple truth is, fundamentals are king when it comes to digital artwork, the same as traditional artwork. The same way an oil painter will have several different brushes. If you give them just paints and just one brush, they'll be able to create something beautiful if they're a good artist. It's the same thing for digital artists. For me here, I just use a soft round and I think I've created a relatively good result. But it would have been easier with different brushes. And that's the point. You need to rely on fundamental skill and simple brushes when you first start learning. But as you improve, as you start to learn shortcuts and develop your own skill sets, you will start to rely on certain brushes more. I am one of those artists that tends to paint everything with either a chalk brush or the standard round brush. But that's not to say there aren't professional artists out there that use really textured, really crazy brushes. And I think that has its place. So if you want to be a concept artist or an illustrator, there are deadlines involved. You need to work to a schedule. And that sometimes requires you to use brushes that hack your way through a painting. But what they don't do is create the painting for you. You can't rely on those brushes to create a beautiful piece of artwork. The artist that uses those brushes could have still done it with the basic brushes, but it makes it faster. So the point I'm trying to make, if you are one of those people that goes onto YouTube and sees a beautiful piece of artwork you really like, and you ask, oh, what brushes are you using? And you're not considering the process, then there's a problem. You need to assess that maybe it's not the brush that you don't understand. It's their fundamental knowledge, how they're manipulating those fundamentals to create a beautiful piece of artwork. However, I've had this situation myself where I see a fellow artist use a brush in a certain way to create a certain effect. And it's amazing. And I feel like if I ask them what brush they're using, I come across like one of those junior artists that doesn't know what they're talking about. So I do feel like people are quite elitist with this attitude of, I'll only use the hard round, only use the soft round brush. But if you can't create a painting without them, then there is a problem. And that's what you need to address first. So it does come in two stages. If you can create like a master studies, like I'm creating here, or from a photograph, realistically using the basic brushes, if you can do that, but you don't like maybe the edges you're creating, the stepping you're getting with certain aspects, the hard and soft edges, the texture, all of those aspects can be fixed to some extent with brushes. So the appeal of a final painting can be very important, and brushes can help that. I can achieve a relatively good result with a soft round brush. Did I find it easy? No, it was quite challenging. Now for studies, that might actually be a benefit. It pushes you outside your comfort zone, you're trying something new, and you might develop different processes using it. I actually did find using the lasso tool and the soft round brush to actually be a pretty good blocking out phase. I found it later on, it was trickier. That's what I didn't like. There are benefits of using them, however, I didn't find it easy. I found it out of my comfort zone. And when you're trying to produce professional work, so day-to-day professional work, you do not want to be out of your comfort zone. You want to feel comfortable with what you can produce and how long it's going to take you to produce it. And with professionals, when you're spending countless hours in a piece of software like Photoshop, you're going to find certain brushes that just work for you and kind of suit your eye and the way you produce artwork. As an example, I really like Art Studio Pro on the iPad, and there's one brush in particular that I absolutely love. If you follow my Instagram, a lot of my studies recently have been with that brush, and I can't replicate it in Photoshop. I'm not sure why. It's something to do with the smoothness of it, but it's just brilliant for the way I produce my artwork. So it's a comfort thing. So hopefully that's making sense. Yes, you can use any brush pretty much to produce a professional piece of artwork. It is the fundamental art skills that are important, but they have their place. There's a reason so many of them exist. Okay, so with that out of the way, I'm going to talk a little bit about this painting. I did find this quite tricky, but it's still within the realm of feeling like a normal painting. I originally thought I was going to do it just with a soft round, but there are limitations. You have to go quite small with the brush to get a relatively hard edge, and I do still want hard and soft edges in the painting because it's the way you get a dynamic result. So I use the lasso tool to essentially create the hard edges and the standard soft round brush to create the soft gradient sections that I wanted to achieve, which works really well for lighting effects, anything with a soft radius curve as an example. So for hills, it worked pretty well. I did find as you shrink the brush down smaller and smaller, it obviously creates a harder edge because the pixel density is getting closer together, so you're going to get a hard edge at some point. Near the end of the painting process, I did actually just use the soft round, shrunk it down to create hard shapes, and they're not hard. When you zoom in, you can see they're not, but they do look it from a distance, so that worked quite well. So in this process, I did start to find new processes, new habits that worked in the painting process that I can potentially take to future pieces. Does this mean I'm going to be using the soft round brush for every piece I ever do moving forward? No, it doesn't. Don't get me wrong, there are parts of it I like, and potentially I might start paintings with that brush, and maybe I'll use that brush plus another brush, but it has its limitations, and I know that. And every other brush you're ever going to use will have different limitations. So it's about applying the right brush to the right situation. But that is another thing to worry about if you're struggling already with understanding how to paint. If you don't know how to create 3D form, lighting, color harmony, all of those things, if you can't create those, stick to the basic brushes, because adding more complex brushes just causes more problems. I'd have exactly the same recommendation if you're starting to use photo bashing. If you can't create composition and value studies, then you cannot jump to photos. Keep it simple. That's the biggest recommendation I can have, is keep them simple. So before you ask the next person in the comments what brush they're using, think about why you want to know. Do you want to know because it's a fundamental part of their process that got a result that you liked? Or is it because what they're creating looks like witchcraft to you and you don't understand it? If it's the second one, you need to study your fundamentals, because that's what they're doing. So I think that is going to wrap up the video. Let me know what you think about brushes. Are there any certain ones you can't live without? Are you one of those people that just loves using the hard round brush? Let me know down in the comments, and I'd love some ideas from you guys about how the channel's doing. If you want any different kind of content, what do you want to see from this channel? I'd love to hear from you. Like I said, I have a Discord, so feel free to join in the link below. Share your art with like-minded artists, potentially join some challenges, or just lurk at all the other amazing art that you're going to see on there. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.